I don't find my wife attractive anymore. This was a heartfelt confession from Frank, a 74-year-old man who's been married for nearly 50 years, and he's not alone in feeling this way. More and more older men are quietly admitting that as they age, the feelings they once had for their wives begin to change, from passion and closeness to distance, and even irritation. But this doesn't mean love is gone. It simply means that marriage, just like ourselves, changes with time. Welcome to Life in Words, where we listen, understand, and heal long-term relationships through the lens of time. Today, we're diving into a topic that feels familiar, yet rarely spoken out loud. Why do some husbands stop liking their wives as they grow old together? Is it due to fading physical attraction, unresolved conflict, or something deeper that even they don't fully understand? This video doesn't just offer explanations. It shares real-life stories of couples who've weathered the storms and heartfelt advice on how to keep love alive, even when time wears everything down. If you're feeling growing distance in your marriage, or simply want to better understand yourself and your partner, stay with us. Because sometimes, just understanding a little more can save an entire marriage. Reason 1. When physical attraction is no longer the bridge. One of the first shifts that leads a man to grow distant from his wife is the fading of physical attraction, not just toward her, but also within his own mind. Biologically and socially, men often associate love with physical connection. As age sets in, not only does their partner's appearance change, but they also face declines in energy, desire, and intimacy. This creates a quiet, invisible sense of loss. They no longer feel powerful, no longer crave like before, and so they begin to pull away. Worse, many men aren't emotionally prepared to face these changes. They don't talk about it. They don't open up. Instead, they create space, trying to avoid the feeling of losing a part of who they were. It's not that they've stopped loving, it's that the bond that once kept them close is slowly fading, and nothing has taken its place. But this isn't the end. When physical attraction fades, it's a signal, a chance to build something deeper. Emotional connection, shared memories, mutual respect, the kind of love that's not limited by time or appearance. If this resonates with your experience or someone you know, leave a comment. Love is not just a feeling. It's something we nurture every day. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Reason 2. Unresolved conflicts that leave men feeling hurt and withdrawn. When we talk about pain in a marriage, people often assume it's the woman who gets hurt more. But men hurt too. They just rarely show it. Many men grow up without being taught how to express their feelings. So when conflicts arise in marriage, even small ones, they often suppress their emotions. Over time, these unresolved tensions slowly push them away from the emotional bond they once had. Psychology shows that men often feel powerless or undervalued when they're constantly criticized or ignored. They may start by arguing back, but eventually they fall silent. They withdraw. They protect their pride by shutting down emotionally. And what seems like not loving their wife anymore is often just the result of that long emotional disconnection, built silently over time. If the wife doesn't notice these subtle signs and continues to see silence as normal, the emotional gap only grows wider. Have you ever seen a man in your life change this way? Or maybe you've felt yourself shutting down from not being understood. Share your experience in the comments, because sometimes healing begins with just being heard. Reason 3. Familiarity turns into emotional loneliness. In marriages that span decades, it's easy to slip into a routine of living with someone, but no longer living for each other. In the early days, every little thing felt magical. The way she sips her tea, the good morning kiss, a quiet evening walk, holding hands. But over time, those gestures disappear, replaced by daily routines, muted conversations, and long stretches of silence that no one even notices. For men, this emotional disconnection doesn't happen loudly. They won't say it. They'll just go quiet. They'll stay in their room longer. They'll stop looking forward to together time. Psychologists call this emotional detachment. They still live under the same roof, but emotionally, they're miles apart. The problem is, most men struggle to admit they're lonely. Society hasn't taught them how to say, "I feel empty," so they hold it in, and the distance grows. When a husband feels there's nothing left to talk about, nothing new to share, he might start confusing that emptiness with not loving his wife anymore. Have you ever felt like you're living with someone but not really close to them? Whether it's a spouse, a friend, or a parent, share that feeling in the comments, because sometimes empathy from a stranger is all it takes to feel a little less alone. Reason 4. Midlife crisis, when a husband starts questioning himself and the marriage. Midlife is a significant psychological milestone for many men. It's a period where they start to look back on their lives. What have I accomplished? How much time do I have left? Am I really living the life I want? As these questions begin to surface more frequently, feelings of doubt, regret, and even disappointment can creep in. This is the classic midlife crisis, a phenomenon well documented by psychologists. During this time, a man may become more irritable, more withdrawn, and occasionally even crave dramatic changes, like switching careers, altering his lifestyle, or in some cases, questioning his relationship. The issue isn't that the wife has changed, it's that the husband is confronting an inner void he never learned how to handle. Unfortunately, the wife, being the closest person, often becomes the outlet for his frustrations. Criticism, emotional distance, or even resentment may just be a reflection of his inner dissatisfaction with himself. At this age, a man's mindset is deeply conflicted. He craves stability, yet fears stagnation. And without open communication and mutual understanding, the wife can slowly start to represent the old life he feels the urge to escape from. Have you ever seen someone close, or even yourself, go through a midlife crisis? Share your thoughts in the comments. You never know, your story might make someone feel a little less alone. Reason 5. Growing apart in lifestyle and values. When two people still share a home, but no longer share the same world. As time passes, people don't just age, they change. New interests emerge, new goals take shape, and personal needs evolve. This happens to both partners. But for men, the shift can sometimes take a particularly personal turn. Many men in middle age feel a strong urge to finally live for themselves, something they may have put on hold for decades due to work, family, or the role of provider. They want to explore, to learn, to try something new. But if their spouse continues with the same lifestyle, differences can begin to quietly grow. It might start with separate hobbies, then comes less time spent together. Eventually, conversations feel disconnected, and before you know it, you're left with the feeling, we just don't have anything to talk about anymore. From a psychological standpoint, men are often less aware of the emotional conflict within themselves. They may not realize they're feeling lonely in the relationship, and instead, they blame their partner for that emptiness. The emotional distance begins in the mind, then shows up in behavior. Over time, they no longer feel comfortable or even like themselves when they're around their wife. Are you feeling like you and your partner are drifting apart? Or have you tried reconnecting but don't know where to start? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience might reignite a long-lost conversation in someone else's heart. Reason 6. Financial stress and retirement worries. When the sound of a ticking bank account drowns out the beat of the heart. As men approach retirement, or find themselves already there, a flood of quiet questions starts creeping in. Can I still provide for my family? Who am I if I'm no longer working? What happens if I get sick? Or if I'm suddenly gone? For many men, self-worth is tightly linked to their ability to earn money and protect their loved ones. So, when that financial stability begins to fade, a sense of anxiety takes root. But instead of talking about it, they bury it inside, often expressing it through frustration, withdrawal, or silence. Even well-meaning conversations about money can turn into arguments. A wife may simply want to plan expenses, but the husband might hear criticism or disappointment. Feeling scrutinized or out of control, he starts pulling away. And along with that, his feelings of love may begin to fade. Psychologists refer to this as a post-career identity crisis, a kind of emotional disorientation that happens when someone no longer sees a clear role for themselves in the family. And without open dialogue, this loss of direction can slowly erode the foundation of a marriage. If you're near retirement, do you feel financial pressure is straining your relationship? Or, if you're a wife, have you noticed your husband becoming more distant or tense whenever money is discussed? Leave a comment. Your story could help someone else find clarity in their own. Reason 7. Lack of physical intimacy. When even a simple touch feels unfamiliar, there's a truth many older men find hard to speak out loud. As their physical life changes, they often feel embarrassed and deeply hurt. Lower testosterone, chronic health conditions, and medication side effects all contribute to a decline in sexual desire. But the real pain often comes not from the change itself, but from the feeling of no longer being desired, or no longer being seen as a real man by the woman they love. As physical intimacy fades, men rarely voice their emotions. Instead, they go quiet. They keep busy. They avoid eye contact. Some even avoid sleeping next to their spouse. Slowly, a silent gap forms, not because the love is gone, but because they fear rejection. They fear being a burden. They fear facing the reality of their aging bodies. Psychologists call this emotional self-protection, where people avoid what might hurt them, even in love. And unless both partners actively reach out, this silence can eventually kill off any remaining connection. But sometimes, just a gentle handhold, a warm hug, or a simple whisper, "You're still the man I love," can heal a heart trapped in shame and fear. If you're still watching, leave a comment. True love starts with a gentle touch. Let others know you believe affection doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be close. Love doesn't fade. We just forget how to show it. When we say a husband no longer likes his wife, it doesn't always mean the love is gone. More often than not, that feeling hasn't disappeared. It's just buried beneath layers of time, pressure, unhealed wounds, and long stretches of silence. Marriage psychologists have found that emotional distance in later life is not the end. It's a signal for transformation. This stage calls for more patience, understanding, and intentional connection from both partners. The husband may be wrestling with a deep fear of being left behind, or the loss of control over his life. Meanwhile, the wife may be doing everything she can, without knowing how to reach the heart that slowly closed itself off. But here's the good news. Happiness doesn't live in a glorious past or a far-off future. It lives in the choices we make every single day, to care, to listen, and to keep holding each other's hand, even as the years grow short. If you're in a long-term relationship, don't just watch this video to understand your partner. Let it reflect something back to you. What can you do today to reconnect with the one you chose all those years ago? Try sharing one thing you used to love most about them. Right here in the comments. Who knows? Your words might inspire someone else to take the first step back toward love. You're not alone in this journey. Marriage is a long road, and it's not always smooth. There will be moments when we feel distant, misunderstood, or unsure about a relationship we've held on to for decades. But if you're still watching this, it means your heart still cares. You still want to understand. And that, in itself, is the beginning of healing. If anything in this video spoke to you, leave a comment below. Have you noticed how your feelings in marriage have changed over time? What's the hardest part for you to navigate? Share your story, because your words might open up a conversation someone else has been waiting to have. And if you found these insights meaningful, hit like, so the algorithm can bring this video to more people who need it. Click share. If you believe someone out there could use these words to hold on to the most precious thing in their life. And don't forget to subscribe to Life in Words, where we explore hidden corners of emotion, timeless lessons, and the art of living well and loving deeply in the later chapters of life. We can't turn back time, but we can start again. With a hug, a word, or even just a loving glance. Take care of one another, because love is always worth nurturing. See you in the next video.